You know, it's funny. In my last video, I talked about Saulo Ribeiro's book and the stages he takes people through as far as what he feels they should be working on at different levels. And he talks about submission at the black belt level. And people were wondering, what does that mean? Like, can you clarify on that? We do submissions at white belt. What are you talking about? Guys, my name is Bill Jones. I'm the head instructor of Top Level Martial Arts in beautiful downtown Cuyahoga Falls. You're watching Professor's Corner. I'm a black belt under Master Pedro Sauer. Guys, if you have any questions or comments, post them below. So, let me start by saying I am not at the level of Saulo Ribeiro. And what I mean by that is Saulo is a very, very high level grappler. He is world class. He's won, I don't want to misstate it, but several world championships, participated in, and I think won at least one ADCC, but I believe it's more than that. I don't want to misstate his credentials, and I'm obviously driving, so I can't look him up. But I want to give a little bit of insight into what he's talking about as far as survival, then defense, then or survival, then escape, then sweeping, and then passing, then submitting, which is what he kind of, in an overarching theme, talks about at each level or rank of jiu-jitsu. Now, let's just get this out of the way. We all know that rank doesn't matter, right? Like that. As a white belt, you know, if you bring, for example, Mark Schultz was a phenomenal wrestler. He wore a white belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at one point, you know, like, but that doesn't mean that the average black belt was going to beat him very easily. Like, that's not what I'm talking about here. So, yeah, we all get it. Belts don't matter. Let's just get that discussion out of the way right away. What Saulo is trying to say, I want to take it to something that I think is a little easier to digest in our minds, because I feel like, and I'm going to take it to like a boxing example. And if you can imagine boxing in its simplest terms, it's one person trying to punch and knock out another person. It is definitely a science. There's a lot of skill and sport to it. There's a reason that Mayweather being undefeated for as long as he has been is such, and that will probably never happen again. I mean, he's probably one of the greatest boxers of all time. And there's different types of boxers, right? Like, he's more defensive. There's guys who are going more for knockouts, you know, like Tyson or whatever. But the reason I want to compare it to boxing is because I feel like you can better understand what I'm about to talk about. Let's pretend that you're 6 years old and your dad puts you into boxing. Okay. As a 6-year-old, you're going to learn how to punch. You're going to learn how to move. You're going to learn all the basics, right? The fundamentals of boxing. Now let's pretend for a moment that as a 6-year-old, you're going to box a 12-year-old in a match. That probably would not happen. I don't even know that 6-year-olds box, but, you know, just bear with me here. A 12-year-old is a lot bigger, a lot stronger. We know that those attributes are going to matter. And the odds of a 6-year-old knocking out a 12-year-old, or even, let's make it even more drastic, an 18-year-old adult person. You know, you're having this 6-year-old kid fight an adult person. Are you really going to focus on punching and kicking, or I'm sorry, I almost said kicking, like, are you really going to focus on trying to knock out the adult? Or are you going to focus more on, hey, let's not get hit, let's stick, let's move, let's stay alive in this game? That's how I view jiu-jitsu. When someone comes in as a white belt, and again, I'm talking about your average person off the street. I'm not talking about that guy who comes in and is essentially like a black belt in wrestling, right? He's D1 and all this stuff. Yes, you're going to have the outliers. That happens. But for the most part, when the average person comes in, if you've studied judo, and I think people who study actual grappling arts are going to understand this better than maybe strikers, yes, you're going to learn submissions. You're going to learn escapes. You're going to learn that stuff. But from my perspective, and I'm not trying to sound egotistical or full of myself, but this is just how it feels. A person who's new off the street feels like a baby to me. And what I mean by that is they have no clue what's going on. They're like that 6-year-old trying to fight an 18-year-old. You know, like they try everything. They push hard. They do all this stuff. The best they can do is survive. And if they develop wrong survival habits at that level, then as they get better, they're going to not be able to survive at a higher level. And what I mean by that is, let's say that I just focus on attack, 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 submission, submission, submission. And I never teach them how to survive in the mount, how to be safe in the mount. Then they might develop their own little things, and they will, but let's say they're doing them and they're working good against a blue belt, and of course they don't think they're ever going to work against a black belt because the black belt's too much better than them, so they don't really concern themselves with that. So they've developed their own habit, whatever habit worked. Maybe that habit turns out it's strength-based or speed-based or based on flexibility. And what's going to happen is they're going to build that habit, and at blue belt, at purple belt, when they start coming up against higher levels of skill, those weaknesses are going to be absolutely blown out of the water. And now that person's going to have to start all over again building new habits. And this is something we all go through. We've all built habits that aren't good. And we all, you know, that's what black belt is about, in my opinion, is very much about rebuilding new habits. And that's kind of what the book is talking about. That's the perspective it's trying to give you, is as a white belt, if you focus on appropriate survival positions and you focus on, you know, and then working toward escapes because you're already in good, healthy, repeatable survival positions. You know, the move needs to be repeatable and reproducible. Then you can keep doing it. But if I can't teach a 6-year-old how to do that move, then it's probably not a good move. If a move, someone asked me earlier about inverting, like as an escape, or as just a guard retention tool, and asked me if I do it. And I say, yeah, I do invert sometimes. But inversion requires a couple things. One, the right body type. If, you know, I'm a bit of a heavier guy, and when I'm feeling heavier, like right now, we're all like stuck in the house, I've probably gained 10 pounds. So I probably wouldn't invert as well, and I probably won't invert when I get back to the academy until I'm feeling good again, because it's an attribute-based movement, right? You have to be able to fold yourself in half, because you're not supposed to be up on your neck. You're supposed to be still on your shoulders. So it's a flexibility-based thing. And if I have a belly in the way, or I lack the flexibility to do that, it's not something I'm going to be able to do. So that shouldn't be something someone depends on. And those are the kind of habits that people build, is attribute-based habits. So that's what he's talking about at white belt. Survival. Learn non-attribute-based survival positions so that you can just last longer. Of course, you're going to learn submissions. You're going to learn these things. But I'm going to say something else that might sound egotistical. Tapping a blue belt means absolutely nothing. Nothing. I tap blue belts all day, every day. It's not a big deal. My goal is to tap black belts. I want to tap people who are really good at jiu-jitsu. And so if I haven't built my good habits before that, if I've only worked my way up to, you know, like forcing my way out of things and then forcing a choke on, then I'm never going to beat a black belt that way. It's just not going to happen. You know, you have to trick people. You have to get them worrying about something else. You know, by that time they've seen so many submission attempts. They've seen every position. They know a lot of things, and they're dangerous on their own. They're trying to get you, and you have to kind of be the mousetrap and let them come into your trap. And that's what he's talking about. So you're building everything up in order. And whether you're building, let's say you get really good at survival positions at like, you know, 6 months in, and you're just one of those people who gets it. Well, good, then go on to escapes. Great. You're still a white belt. You're still working on your escapes. It's not that you're not going to work on them. It's not that you're not going to learn them. It's just not going to be your focus until you're able to survive, right? That's half the problem I see when people ask how to get out of bottom side control. It's like, well, you know, the problem is, it's not that you're in bottom side control. The problem is you never shrimped. You never hip escaped. You didn't you know, build any frames. You didn't manage your distance. That's why you're in bottom side control. And that's where the story needs to start. You know, those are the survival things that need to happen before the escapes can happen. And then you work on your escapes. You know, you get better at your escapes because you're already good at survival. So he's really talking about more what you get good at in order of precedent, more than at this belt you should learn this, and at that belt you should learn that, and at this belt you should learn this. So it's more of a philosophy toward training and toward understanding than it is a hard, fast, learn these moves at this rank. So, and I agree with it wholeheartly. Like if a white belt comes up to me and says, hey, you know, I'm stuck in bottom side control, I'm going to be like, yeah, of course you are. That's your job right now, is to be stuck in bottom side control, because you don't know how not to be. You know, and or like people, I get it all the time. Oh yeah, you know, I'm afraid to do this because this belt will beat me or whatever. And it's like, my goal isn't to beat blue belts. My goal isn't to beat purple belts. My goal is to be good enough to beat black belts, even at the level of purple belt. Like if you're a purple belt, your goal shouldn't be, oh man, I hope I can tap other purple belts. Your goal should be like, see that black belt over there? I'm gonna mess him up. That should be your goal, is I can trick that guy, right? And it's not like it shouldn't be like an athletic get him. It'd be like, I want to trick that black belt into a submission. I want him to walk right into it and then look at me and go, okay, okay. Like, as opposed to like, I was just real fast and jumped and, you know, got a flying triangle on him, right? That's another attribute-based thing. So just things to consider. I hope that that helps clarify what I think about that book. I think it is the book that every Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner should have. It's like 40 bucks. And out of the amount of time you're going to be training Jiu-Jitsu, that is a very little cost. So if you divide that between the 10 years it takes to get to black belt, I think it comes out to less than a penny a day. It's a very small amount of money. And you're going to get lots of use out of that book. So I highly recommend it. Again, I want to give away a copy, so like and subscribe on the video. Don't forget to leave a comment, because that's how I'm going to know and be able to pick a winner. So I'm going to be giving out a copy of Saulo Ribeiro's Jiu-Jitsu University. Hope you guys like it. Talk to you later.